Richard Branson quoted, entrepreneurship is not about starting a business, it's about creating value. Every great business begins with a vision and the courage to turn that vision into reality. A very warm good evening to each one of you. Welcome to today's edition of the Boardroom to Classroom Discussions speaker series. I'm Coach Tracy Reggie and I'll be your MC for this inspiring section. Today, I have the distinct honor of welcoming a truly remarkable guest speaker, Ajay Jain, the founder of Sacred Threads. Ajay Jain is a third generation entrepreneur based in Bangalore and an alumnus of Christ University. Ajay completed his BCom honors at Christ University in 2015. He began his corporate career with Deloitte USA, where he gained invaluable experience. However, recognizing a greater opportunity beyond the corporate realm, Ajay transitioned from Deloitte to modernize the traditional sari brand store, Madan Sons. Under his family guidance, the store has been transformed into the contemporary retail brand now we know as Sacred Threads. To further on his business acumen, Ajay pursued a master's degree at SP Jain School of Global Business Management. Ajay envisions Sacred Threads becoming a national sari brand renowned for its unwavering commitment to quality, sourcing from national award winning weavers and the finest sari weaving clusters across India. Ajay has turned his vision into a thriving business, and his journey is a testament to the power of entrepreneurial spirit and innovation. His insights and experiences will undoubtedly provide us with valuable lessons and inspiration. I would like to extend a warm welcome to our Dean, Dr. Tommy K. Kallarakal, Associate Dean, Dr. Karthike Prakasham, and a coordinator, Dr. Giri Sir, in their absence. A special welcome to our head of department, Dr. Amalnathan and Dr. Rishikesh, the faculty in charge, who have given their time and dedication in organizing this section. I also welcome Dr. Madhusudanan. Last but not the least, a warm welcome to my classmates who are the main beneficiaries of this section. As we prepare to hear from Mr. Ajay Jain, let's remember that entrepreneurship is not just about starting a business, it's about creating value and making a difference. So, without further ado, let's welcome our distinguished guest, Ajay Jain, to take over the section.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome. Thank you so much for getting me in onto this platform to share my experiences and my journey in building the business what I am doing. So I would like to start on with giving you a gist of what my journey has been in where we are today and what we are today as a brand. So, firstly, I would like to give you a brief. Firstly, before I start, I would also like to let you all know I have been an alumnus of Christ University, and I have completed my BCom honors in the year 2015. So now it's fast forward 9 years. It's great to be back on this platform to share what I've learned and everything what I could probably contribute to you all in your growth journey. So, just to start on with, in terms of my journey, and to give you a brief of what we were earlier as a brand and today what Sacred Threads is, I would like to start on in putting forth of what my earlier family business was into. So, my earlier family was running a traditional sari shop or a sari ki dukan, which was like a 1200 square feet of a sari store, nestled around a kilometer away from MG Road in a smaller format of a business where it was my dad, my uncle who used to take care of it. And again, the format of running of the business was highly unstructured. At the same time, they were not using any data analytics tool, no ERP softwares, no tracking of inventory. So things were in an unorganized, typical normal store format is what how it was being run. So thankfully, I had an opportunity. So it was my journey started right after my undergrad when as a part of our campus placements I got to move around to Deloitte, and I was there for almost a year and a half. Dad sensed an opportunity in my family business. My original per se of a career path was to eventually move into the corporate job role, and I was not really inclined towards the family business because I didn't find anything exciting towards it. So as my corporate journey with Deloitte started, I gained real good experience in a data analytics job role space. Got to understand how the corporate world structure runs, how leadership management at Deloitte works, how day-to-day work ethics work in a corporate space. So that experience was very helpful to me. And around the same time, our traditionally run sari business, which was Madan Sons, was doing exceptionally very well. So dad put forth this opportunity to me that, Ajay, would you like to join the business? If you are, we are open to expand this business as a modern format of a sari store. So dad could see in a spark in me to really contribute into the business, which is when I took leap from quitting my job at Deloitte and to join into Madan Sons, primarily with a vision to take this traditional run business into a modern corporate retail brand store. So today, Sacred Threads is a completely proper corporate retail brand store running with more than 20 employees right now, running in a having complete ERP systems in place, having absolute tracking of inventory. We are working with 400 plus manufacturers across the country, and today it is run in a complete corporate setup where my involvement in the business is not essential. The business runs on its own majorly today, is what I could put forth. So this is just a gist of how we are today and how we started on. And from a growth journey perspective, if I could put forth, Madan Sons was a brand which related and resonated with the previous generation. If you look at sari brands which exist today, majorly, either usually ended up having their branding name put forth as a family name, which is true in the case of Madan Sins as well. Madan Lal was my grandfather, so either a good Sanskrit name or one of a member of the family member's name. So when I saw Madan Sons as a subject to me when I'm joining the business, I was not wholly convinced that no, this is not what my brand would resonate with the kind of audience I'm trying to cater to. So there's a very strong faith which I have. Every brand is trying to fit in to a customer's perspective and personality of what kind of a brand persona they want to be associated with. I think this is the crux of all the brands which exist in today's world. They are really trying to fit in into a space of where they feel which consumer brand persona they would like to really fit into. So that's when the idea was if of rebranding and restructuring Madan Sons into a modern corporate retail store. The fundamental what we were focusing on was how do I get in a brand name which can really resonate with today's generation. That's when the idea was to neglect the earlier naming methodology and to come up with a brand name which again would provide me a registered trademark as well to resonate with today's audience. That's when that is when the birth of Sacred Threads took in place as a brand. That a lot of brain scratching went in the family. We spent a year to finalize on a brand name. We really wanted the brand name to really resonate with what we sell. That is when the idea of Sacred Threads came to the picture. So here it is today. We are working with 400 plus manufacturers across the country, out of which five are national award-winning sari manufacturers. And we have a clientele of who we have catered to more than 15,000 customers as on date. And today, 60 to 70% of our business comes from an existing customer base. So if I'm to give you a brief of what went right, what really clicked for us, and what really helped us get to a stage of where we are today, is I would accredit it to two factors. One, sensing the opportunity of what is happening in the market. If you really look back at the sari industry, the ethnic industry, 6 to 7 years back, the textile industry and the ethnic industry in India saw a massive boom around 6 to 7 years back, which is when not only my family could recognize what's happening in this industry, but also the corporate giants, which is to say the Tatas, the Reliance, really could sense in that there's something big happening in this industry. So if you really look at even the corporate vertical of what these guys have done when they sense this boom, Avantra, a brand by Reliance, was launched 3 years back. Tanaira by Tata's was launched 6 years back. So this was a phase of ethnic boom, and I'm glad that we, coming from a family business with kind of fairly limited resources as compared to corporate businesses, we could sense in this opportunity and take plunge to what we are take plunge into this massive opportunity which came forth our way. So at the same time, when I quit my job from Deloitte, I really, my family personally felt a sense of requirement for me to have a formal education to really take lead on this larger format of a business, because we were scaling from a 1200 square feet of a sari store to a 6000 square feet of a sari store. This was 5x of growth of what we were looking at in a span of within 1.5 to 2 years after I joined the business. So the goal was, how do we achieve this? Was I skilled enough? Was I resourceful enough? Do I have the acumen to run this business? A lot is at stake. Whole of family investment is at stake. There's a lot of employees whose livelihood is dependent on us. So you cannot go wrong. It's a very different space as compared to startups when you're getting funded by investors. You're not playing with investors' money, you're playing with families' money in a family business. So here, taking risks and taking steps had to be massively calculated. So when this whole opportunity came in of expanding this business from a 1200 square feet sari store to a 6000 square feet sari store, my family really wanted me, as every parent would probably want, they wanted their son to get a master's degree. So this was one thing they wanted me to get in, and they I started applying at multiple universities to fulfill their requirement. They really, for them, they just wanted their son to have a master's degree. Of They didn't want their son to just be with an undergrad degree as such. Their goal was not from a purely business standpoint, but from a standpoint of representing myself in the society. That it's very important that their son has a master's degree. So what happened? They kind of pushed me forward to start applying at universities, and I started doing my preparation for entrance tests and everything. In fact, just to put forth this on a lighter note on this interview call, I in fact got through Christ as well for the MBA program, and I did not take it up primarily because my end goal of what I'm looking at was very different. And this is something I would like to share with all of you. It's very important for you to get an education as you mature with your age. It's very important to really understand where you would want to take your career path to. It's very important to be very clear of where you're heading to, rather than spending times of learning things which is not going to apply to you in the future world. So what I realized personally, a regular MBA is not going to add value to me. So I really wanted an education which can help me in my business. So which is when I started researching about where could I get in a form of an education which can help me modernize or add real value to what I'm wanting to do. So that's when I came across SP Jain's family managed business course. It's an MBA for family businesses. The classroom is filled with only with students running different businesses across the country. So I took leap to get my education at SPJ in Bombay, wherein they kind of trained me on very fundamentals of running business. How do I read a balance sheet? How do I identify loopholes of what's happening in my business by just studying a balance sheet? How do I evaluate what is my return on investment on a product level? What is my return on investment on a category level? How do I talk to a banker when I want a loan? How do I deal with my employees if there's a quarrel in the store? How do I negotiate with people around and get my things done? How do I negotiate with, say, your local politicians, your local cooperators, wherein we are in a country where things are kind of unhealthy when it comes to when it comes to somebody seeing a successful business grow. There is the government who's kind of behind you for everything. How do you deal around with notices received from the income tax department? How do you deal with notices received from a GST department? So these were fundamentals for me to learn if I'm running a business, and I felt that course could really add value, because a regular MBA would prepare me to for the corporate world, but not for the grassroots level of business world in India in the retail space. So this course kind of really helped me understand things and made me more mature as a business entrepreneur and be more prepared to really take on this business journey and take my business to the next level. So I completed my education. I was more prepared. I would say, they kind of groomed me and trained me to be ready to take on a business and work towards an expansion of 5x growth. So that is where the whole effort of wanting to be creative, wanting to think out of the box, at the same time, that being the crux of what I wanted. A fundamental base which is required on top of this is having a formal, matured form of an education, which can really help you take forward and be creative in the business space. So thankfully, things were right. Family support was always there on me to give me the freedom to do what I wanted, be it the smallest of the smallest things. As soon as you enter my store, what kind of fragrance do you get to smell? What is my AC temperature? What is my staff's uniform? How is my invoice being printed? How is my product naming being done at my back end? How am I using data to kind of understand where my business is headed towards? All of these things started falling in place after having a basic understanding of fundamentals of running a business. So all of these, so I've always been a details person where I've always liked to look at nitty-gritties of small things around when I am doing anything for that matter at workspace. I'm not okay for smallest form of mediocrity. Now, for example, if it is about, say, a simple thing as a carry bag, what sizing of font goes in, what is the spacing which goes in from the bottom to top, am I following proper guidelines of, the size of a carry bag? Is my packaging right? Is my price tag the right size? Is my font size of what the price tag which is printed, is my font size too big or too small? So I ended up going on nitty-gritties and details. And thankfully, fast forward today, we are very happy of where we have come forward as a business. And we are in fact working towards the next stage of growth, which is Sacred Threads 2.0. We are intending to launch another sari store in 1.5 2 years time. And all of this is what we realized was, in terms of retail and in terms of expansions, what businesses have done right, what businesses have done wrong. If we are able to kind of really understand those elements, build a business which is structured well, having a proper SOP in place for every little thing, I think the growth journey is actually very simple. Now, when you hear about the startup world, we hear about valuations, acquisitions. A company got acquired for 100 crores, 200 crores, 1,000 crores. We keep hearing about this very often in the recent world space of what is happening. Why are people being acquired? Why are companies being acquired for 100 crores or 200 crores? So, in reality, if you really bottle this down to a very simple subject, it's about investors having a lot of money, wanting to know where the business can grow multifold. And how does this happen? This happens through a business which is well structured, having its fundamentals right, and there is real evidence of growth being in place. So it is as simple as, today I'm a sari brand who is doing business worth, say, 100 rupees. My total turnover is 100 rupees as a brand. So an investor coming in and seeing this business model of what inventory I'm playing with, how many staff am I kept, what is my operating expense, what is my monthly profit, what is my yearly growth prospect, how much have I grown year on year, if my business fundamentals are correct. And fundamental to retail, I will say, beyond just the fundamentals of business, having your product right. What has gone right for us in the last 3.5 years of Sacred Threads is our supply chain. We are working with 400 plus manufacturers across the country, and we are routing 95% of inventory from manufacturers direct. We have a 5% inventory which comes through traders, but 95% of our products come from from manufacturers alone. So when a supply chain is really mature, when I'm already getting products from multiple parts of the country, literally the whole of India is being covered for us as a sari store. We keep traveling through to literally all the weaving clusters across the country, be it Kolkata, outskirts of Kolkata, Banaras, Surat, Bombay, Jaipur, Ajrakpur, Bhagalpur, a lot of villages in South India, Dharmavaram, Arni, Kanjivaram. Then there's places called Yola in Maharashtra. There is Orissa, there's Bhubaneswar. There are multiple places which we cover across the country. to source in great saris which are handpicked by us. Uh, is there something on? Okay, fine. So we travel across the country to source our products, and also at the same time traveling across the country, buying good stuff, using proper ERP sets of data to really understand what is doing well, what is not doing well in the store, understanding which suppliers, which specific design of sari at which price point sells well for us. Am I focusing on my best sellers always? Am I having my best sellers in stock? The idea goes as you got to focus on your strength always is the subject what we are taught in right from school. If you're good at playing cricket, focus on cricket. Sachin Tendulkar is good at cricket, focus on cricket. You can't go to singing. So same thing is something we follow even in our store. If a particular product is doing well, we focus on it more based on data, which suppliers, which product has given a faster turnaround. Is my stock moving faster? Is my customer who's visiting to me after every 2 to 3 months able to see fresh stock in my counters? So these are fundamentals which we look onto by using data and by traveling across the country and getting good products. So once we have these two fundamentals in place, that is your product being right, your inventory management, your ERP systems which tracks what's happening right, and you overlook and make business decisions on based on this. If you have these two things sorted right, there's nothing which can stop to multiply this into 100x. For example, if I'm selling a beautiful white color sari, which is priced at 3,000 rupees from XYZ supplier, which I have sourced, and the sari is just outstanding and just beautiful, shouldn't a customer who's sitting in Koramangala also want to take it? A customer who's sitting in Yeshwantpur also enjoy that sari because the retail is restricted to 5 kilometer radius. I would get customers only 5 kilometer radius. So that is when the idea of expanding and growth comes in, wherein you're wanting to just copy and paste what you're doing in one location. It's actually that simple. It's just copy and paste what you're doing. If I'm running one store successfully, how difficult it is for me to run 500 stores. If I have my basic product right, my supply chain right, my ERP right, I just have to fill in a few sales staff in one store, keep a store manager, and the store runs because my product is taken care. I know what's happening in every store by studying my data. So I would say with the idea of modernizing and using education as a fundamental, I've been able to come to a stage where we've been able to really think and act and behave like how corporates would do and not how typical small shops would run is how I would really put forth and this conversation to you. In case you guys have any questions regarding this small little snippet of what I've shared with you about my business, I would really be open to. It's been just me who's really putting forth of this journey, but I'm really open to really hear from you of anything that you would want to learn from me or anything which you would like to ask and understand about what I've been doing in my business.
Thank you, Ajay. That was so interesting and intriguing. Um, just, I don't know whether Ajay would remember, I took my wedding sari from your showroom. Yeah, really, the, uh, the new showroom which you had started. So the floor is now open for students for an interaction.
So your voice is a little bit not so audible. Can you just check that a little bit?
All right. Is it better now?
Slightly.
Okay, I would invite students to ask questions if there are any, to know more about what Ajay is, what he has been through, and about some of the, more specifically, the strategies that they follow in their growth or in their marketing, etc. Over to you, Coach Tracia. We can take it forward.
So, class, if you have any questions, you can ask now, and it will really help it in preparing our case studies. So, if anybody is
So also,
ready to,
just as you're sharing this, Kostresha, I would also like to put forth a very big important element, which probably I did not stress on in my conversation, was the idea of rebranding from the old traditional business to buy sacred threads. The fundamental towards this was to really fit into what today's world would like. Like for example, if I or any other person is liking to gift a sari to somebody. Say you have two carry bags, one says Madan Sons, one has Sacred Threads. It has the same product. What would the customer like to give it to the opposite person as a gift?
I would say sacred threads.
Yeah, so that is where you fit in. That is the psychology what a brand creates in the minds of the customer.
Okay. Sir, I would like to ask a question. So, what do you think that sets apart Sacred Threads from other sari brands that are in the market right now?
So other sari brands, what keeps us apart is you would all we are sourcing everything majoritarily from the manufacturers directly as business owners, not as purchase managers. So in larger entities, say a sari brand at the moment, I wouldn't give names right now, but a sari brand who is running a 50 stores or a 60 stores at the moment right now is run through purchase managers, wherein this selection of stock is farly not as ahead as what we would put in, wherein owners are directly sourcing material. So any sari brand wherein owners are directly involved in the sourcing of products, they would stand ahead of the market. And at the same time, what keeps us ahead, I will say, is something which learned from Deloitte. I was working in Deloitte on a IBM data set module where I used to study on IBM's software sales data. So from migrating from a software sales data analytics, I'm applying exactly same thing of what we used to do in Deloitte for IBM software sales onto saris. So I'm able to understand better, and I don't really think as much as data analytics I would probably do in my business. I do not think any sari store would do, because they wouldn't understand the the way how data is being read by bigger corporate entities.
How do you stay updated with the trends and customer preferences in the sari industries to keep Sacred Threads, relevant and appealing?
So this happens through constant touch with manufacturers and being in the counter. So as a business owner, I'm not involved directly in sales or in operations directly. But for me, the only way of insight is through feedback which my staff gives in of what my customer asks, and my presence as well inside the counters. So whenever I'm in the store, I prefer being in the counter and listen to what customers are asking and what are they wanting. So that is one form of collecting information of what is it that consumers are exactly wanting. So when you're on the ground, on the field, you exactly know what they're asking for. There could be a possibility that they're asking for something and we do not have it. That becomes a pointer for me to work on backwards. This one. And the second element goes in when we are traveling to the market. That is when you're traveling and visiting manufacturers, they are more adapted with understanding what trends are running, what is moving faster, what is not moving faster. So what's moving better, what fashion is wanting, they are able to manufacture what is running in the industry. So when we are visiting them on a regular basis, we get to talk to them directly of what is it that other parts of the country are asking, what is doing well in Bangalore, what is doing well in a Kolkata, what is doing well in a Delhi, what product is moving better. So from a manufacturer space to the consumer space, collecting feedback from both the spaces has been very important for us to take the informed decisions of what inventory we need to keep in our counters. Apart from the consumer and the manufacturer, we have our on ground sales data of what type of saris are fast moving, what types of saris are slow moving. So that data as well gives us a top up of understanding where the industry is headed towards.
How about the social media presence that the brand is
So
having?
that's my challenge right now. That is my challenge, is what I would put forth. At the moment, we do not have a social media presence as a brand, which is fundamental. You would tell me in today's world. So
Uh,
I would say I would attribute this not having a presence to the whole reason behind of a 0 to 1 brand, is what I would tell you. Sacred Threads, I would regard it as a 0 to 1 brand and not built on. Correct, my fundamental base was a 40-year-old plus run business entity in a very different fashion and in a very different manner. So when we are talking about modernizing and running a sari brand store, like how a corporate giant would run, like how a Tata would run, like how Reliance would run. If I'm talking about that, the first stage for me to go to market for social media becomes of completely maturing my product. So it's been 3.5 years. We are at a stage of product maturity where probably in another 6 months or 1 year, I would proudly tell we are very mature in our product, wherein I could say I have the complete best of the whole country in one single roof. I have saris of across the country under one roof, and that is when I would go to market with my online presence. And also, what I've seen good about our offline store, I would say, is customer stickiness is very high. So in fact, 65 to 70% of my daily sale, as on today, after 3.5 years of my total turnover, comes from a mobile number which has shopped with me before. So which is to say, if they are contributing to my growth journey, they trust me as a brand, and they are fueling my growth right now. So when do I head into an online space? Once, as I told you, after 6 months, after 1 year of more maturity, when I am fully confident that this business model is replicable to another store, physical format store as well, where I don't have to invest in efforts in building relationships with manufacturers more, when I don't have to work on my supply chain anymore. That is when I can probably invest in my energy and time on social media, which becomes fundamental in today's world. Having an online presence is fundamental in today's world. But the reason why we are not moving towards it is our energies are invested in maturing this 0 to 1 brand. That's something we would get to in a year's time, is what I would put forth.
So 1 year time is what you see for
Yes,
the
we would.
social.
Sacred Threads will go online in a year's time because I have my product mature. I just need to plug in people eventually. I need to plug in an e-commerce business manager. I need to, if I'm doing in-house shoots, I need to hire a photographer. I need to hire an editor. I need to keep a few drapists. I need to just hire people and give them a SOP of working of what I'm expecting out of them because my product is ready. I don't have to put in more effort and then it's only about managing those people. So, which is why scaling is very easy after you have matured your brand completely. So, which is where Sacred Threads is now maturing as a brand. And in a year's time, I would proudly tell you we are fully mature as a brand and we are prepared to go to market of either replicating a physical store or going online. So, also in terms of online as a business model, as much as it's relevant and as much as it's super important today, as a business entity, when I'm looking at numbers, I've seen a offline store doing exceptionally well. And if I'm to start on another online business, my operating expense of running a fully matured online business is as equivalent as the operating cost which I'm sitting right now on. It's the same operating cost which I have to replicate on eventually. So am I prepared to get into a business model which is unknown to me, or do I focus on a business model which I'm already acquainted and doing well? That becomes a value proposition for me of what should I be focusing on. So as a brand, I would focus more on launching my next store first and then moving online rather than going online and then launching another additional sari store because my cost structures are same. I have to pay the same kind of salaries. My monthly operate end of the day it boils on to a simple concept: return on investment. How much am I investing into this business? What is my return end of the day? End of the day, business falls on three elements in terms of a product industry. It's three elements: margins. What margins can I keep on my product? Then what is the efficiency rate? How quickly am I able to sell the product after getting into my counter? In a span of 1 year, if I've invested, say, 100 rupees on a product, am I able to get to out of stock in 3 months? So, which means my efficiency becomes 4 times. Am I rotating my stock 4 times in a year? That becomes efficiency. Then becomes margin, I told you. Then becomes leverage. What credit period am I getting from my supplier to pay for the goods which I've purchased from him? So when I'm looking at these three fundamentals of business: margin into efficiency into leverage, which is your return on investment, what makes sense to me as a business model which is scalable, which is replicable in a faster tone? I realized with the kind of skill set which we have, I would focus more on my offline store presence at the moment and mature it fully before I get into online. at the current stage.
But don't you think that will be, it will be very late to start, as we
But
know?
no, no, like I said, it wouldn't be late, because why it wouldn't be late is when my existing business model is fully functional in a very mature, like I said, getting to online in a fully matured way makes more sense versus getting to online in a not so mature way. So once, why I'm putting forth this, why I'm calling myself as a not fully mature brand, in spite of working with 400 plus manufacturers and traveling across the country to source products, building on a base of so many years of experience of the business, I still call myself not fully mature because I still have massive room to develop in my offline business vertical. It's different if I have another co-founder who has time and energy to invest. So there's a concept which we learned in SV Jain, which was roti, the chapati what we eat, roti, return on time invested. That is the concept which they put forth. So for a business owner, it's very important to see what brings in more value from his time being invested. So to me, if I put in little bit extra time on my offline store, my numbers work out much better versus putting additional investment of time and energy into another complete business model, because I'm already running a business model which is doing well. So to me, to build on and grow this is easier than getting into a business model journey which is something totally different and has its own complete set of cost structures. Apart from my product being common to an offline business and an online business, my other costs are totally separate. Here, whatever I'm adding on, say for example, I go in out for a marketing campaign wherein I'm pushing out WhatsApp messages to my 15,000 plus mobile numbers of my customers. These are customers who have visited my store, they know my product, they've experienced my store, and doing a marketing campaign and targeting my offline audience makes more viable sense than me running an ad on Instagram, because this would fetch me guaranteed results over doing something on an Instagram or running my own website or being listed on marketplaces and Amazon and a Flipkart. Another challenge for luxury products, for example, the silk sarees what we sell. If I'm looking at marketplaces, no sari brand would want to sell on marketplaces because of the kind of commissions what an Amazon and a Flipkart charges. So that becomes a drawback for, as a challenge for that industry is what I would tell you. That is, anybody who's going online in a sari industry as a mature sari brand, they would not be able to get listed on a Flipkart or an Amazon because of their cost structures. But for me, what's good right now in terms of return on time invested and in terms of real growth expected of my time which I'm putting in my business, it's very easy for me to launch, I would say, even 5 stores or 10 stores in the city of Bangalore once I mature my product. So that makes more of a business proposition sense to me at the moment. But as what consumers would want, consumers want us to get online. Definitely, no doubt about it. There are customers who are coming off from far off locations, customers who are coming from 10 kilometers, 12-kilometer radius, who come to our store frequently. They are wanting us to have an online presence, but something that's not what we would want to focus on. I understand the world is wanting this, but what end of the day as a business owner, I would look at end of the day on my investment going to my business. What's scalable for me at an easier space immediately is what I would focus on. Yes, online is important once I mature my existing business to the next level.
Okay, apart from the social media presence, are there any other challenges that you're facing right now in your business?
Other challenges, yes, I would say the entering into online was a subject which we wanted to do in the very start. So this is a challenge by itself. And as a sari as a product is very different than selling an iPhone online, because an iPhone, buying an iPhone on Amazon is very different than shopping for a sari on a sari of my own website, say for that matter. So the reason to this is two things. One, right now I'm sitting with 15,000 plus different designs in my store. I have 15,000 plus SKUs of units of different types of saris in my store. And the units is restricted to one piece, one design. So my cost of photo shoots, my cost of, investing on a model shoot and getting that product online is a challenge if I'm looking to scale immediately into the online. So I cannot straight away replicate this model to my online. I will have to bottle down to If you really look and study e-commerce sari brands today, they would have a maximum SKU of 1,500 or 2,500 saris which are listed on their website, or maximum say a 5,000 units of product. If you really do a detailed study of the number of units they've listed on their website, the reason which is attributed to this is because you need to keep replicas of the same product, and we are living in a world of fast fashion today, where a consumer doesn't want to buy the same stuff which he's bought 3 months back. Designs are changing, trends are changing faster. So this is a challenge of, you know, taking care of this high operating cost of going online, at the same time being relevant to the fast fashion industry. So if you look at H&M, Zara as a brand, when the reason why they became successful in India was their inventory turnaround time. So H&M and Zara operate on 15 days, 25 days of inventory, which means in 25 days they get stocked out in the store. So that is the highest form of efficiency in the retail industry, because the sari industry runs on a maximum, I would say, 3 to 6 rotations in a year. I would get stocked out in 3 months, in 2 months to 3 months maximum. So what happens when you're working on an industry wherein your product is wherein the consumer is wanting a new product after 3 months, and if you have stocked up one design 10 pieces and you're trying to sell it on your website, or you're trying to sell it on a marketplace, it's probably easier. When you're trying to sell it on your own website, the challenge comes in is two things: whether your manufacturer is able to take care of that production. For example, when you're talking about Kanjivaram silk saris or Banaras silk saris, these are, majority of them are handmade saris. The industry is not prepared to make this kind of inventory. The industry prepares probably 5 units, 3 units, 2 units of one sari, and the turnaround lead time for me to get that product back into stock is months together. There are saris which takes 2 months to weave, saris which takes 1 month to weave. There is the issue of availability of threads in the market, availability of the weaving loom which were using that cards for that sari. So that becomes another constraint, because every silk sari being worn on a weaving unit requires a card which is made, which costs almost around 20-25,000 rupees, which is on handloom basis. So the costing of each card is restricted to one weaving loom. When that loom is making that one sari, the production capacity drops down significantly. There is a limitation in quantity, which is why in terms of pure silk saris, scaling up becomes a challenge. So e-commerce, I would say, as a subject, to me, it's fabulous. But again, I have its own I have my own reservations, primarily because having that responsibility to source multiple units of the same product, I would want to give my customer a new design every time. I would not want to keep the same sari 10 units. But e-commerce forces you to do that, because your model shoot costs, your cost of uploading to a website, cost of running the website, your cost of hosting on cloud platforms are very high. So if I'm looking at giving newer designs to my customers at a more regular pace, an offline store makes more sense to me at the moment.
Okay, I get it. And also, one more question. Like, we know that we are living in a technologically advanced world, right?
That's right.
So, AI is marking their presence in every industries, literally.
That's right.
So, what role do you see technology is playing in the future of traditional brands like Secretaries?
So, what role we see of AI, I would say already we are seeing that happening right now in terms of design creation. Manufacturers are very happy that a lot of designing of saris is happening through AI. Then, in terms of photo shoots, a lot of AI tools are being introduced in this industry, which is helping take care and replicate traditionally run photo shoot campaigns through a digitally run AI driven photo image generation tools which are coming up right now. So in fact, there is great maturity which is happening. So for example, there's a very simple tool which goes in as I drape a sari on a mannequin, and I'm saying AI is still at its maturing stage. Probably 2 years later or a year later, we would see the real juice of AI hitting businesses directly, because AI is still maturing right now. So a sari which is draped on a mannequin, instantly being converted into a sari being worn by a model. So right now, the technology which is there, a consumer can actually make out the difference. But I'm very confident AI will be able to take over and supersede what's happening right now in a span of 1 to 2 years at the way technology is actually moving in. So this is something which I really foresee as a great tool in really using modern technologies in our business. At the same time, I also mentioned to you, I'm using a lot of data analytics to make sure my inventory is right in my business. So getting data is one aspect. Me doing analytics is one element. So AI is also helpful in understanding data and drawing inferences from what data insights I have to put forth based on the data my ERP is collecting.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for sharing your valuable experiences and entrepreneurship journey. Actually, your journey is a powerful example of how vision and perseverance can lead to extraordinary achievements. I hope students are not having any queries. If you have any queries, you can raise your hands and ask sir now. We'll wait maybe 1 minute. Naman, you can ask the question.
Good evening, sir.
Very good evening,
So my
Naman.
question is, do you have any plan to add another product line, like going to the men's wear in the next 5 to 6 years?
This is something, in fact, our audiences who buy saris have also asked us, please introduce ready made stuff. We really like your saris. But that's something which we would not do as a business at the moment, because primarily our focus is invested in developing and maturing one single product, and we want to master this niche out rather than diversifying it. For example, which is I would say the right business strategy, because this, if you draw inferences from other brands, say for example, as simple as McDonald's as a brand, you think of McDonald's, you think of fries and burger. They're doing very well because you focus on one specific niche. It's very important for a consumer to associate yourself as a brand for having one specific identity, which is why another inference which I could put forth to you, to make you understand why it's not a wise decision to get into another product line, is something which is mastered by Aditya Birla Group. Aditya Birla Group is running four different brands for the same product. They've gotten to a level where they want to sell one product to different stratas of the economy. Because if you look at Alan Solly, Van Hussein, Louis Philippe, and the other brand is, I'm so sorry, Van Hussein, Alan Solly, Louis Philippe, and Peter England. These are all four brands owned by Aditya Birla Group. So they are all catering to a modern office workwear category of clothing products for men and women. A lot of them, your Van Hussein is dominated for men. Louis Philippe is also dominated for men. So these brands are selling a formal shirt on Van Hussein as well, on Louis Philippe as well, Alan Solly as well, and the fourth brand as well. So the idea of how in depth they have gone is they are catering to different strata and mindset of the society. Peter England and Alan Solly becomes, if somebody who is perceiving themselves to be young and trendy, they would choose Alan Solly as a brand. Van Hussein, a person who is maturing in a corporate world space, probably would resonate with the Van Hussein brand feel. Person who's wanting to buy slightly luxury but not ultra luxury will go and invest in a Louis Philippe brand. So they are catering to different brand personas of consumers in the same product. So that's how depth of they have gone into a brand, given the kind of investment they are running on, and they're running their business in a far more corporate setup with massive investment. So it makes sense to, master out one product and cater to one niche of an audience, rather than trying to do it to with different categories of products and trying to cater to different stratas of the audiences as a customer target audience. It's very important for a brand to target and do things specifically as per what the target audience likes. So I would say
Thank you
this
so
is the
much.
reason why I would not get into menswear.
Yeah, got it, sir. Thank you.
Any more questions? We can take one more question if anybody has any questions.
Nobody yet? Okay. Sounds good.
Uh,
Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Very good evening.
Nowadays there's a current trend of sustainability, right? Like even in clothing brands as well. Do you think
That's right.
your brand is will also inculcate sustainability, or is right now inculcating sustainability in it, or how do you plan
Well, we are inculcating sustainability at levels where we can. I would say, for example, the carry bags what we use are reusable, and that is one simple element. And then in terms of our product, unfortunately, I would say be honest about it. The silk saris is one segment, and the semi silk saris become one segment, and the cotton saris becomes another segment. So there becomes three segments of saris as a whole. Again, there are more subcategories to it, but if I'm to roughly put in categories to this, these are the categories. In terms of product, I would say definitely my synthetic category of product is semi silk categories, products which fall majorly under the price point of affordability, that is under 5,000 rupee category of saris, which are non-pure silk. I would say they are a threat to the environment because of use of dyes and colors and synthetic materials. There's massive use of dyes and chemicals which is used in making saris. So at the moment, I would be honest about it that this element of my product I have we this is something we cannot do much about in terms of really being a sustainable brand. But of course, in terms of other categories of products, which is goes in your cottons and silks, as a product, yes, we are nature friendly, we are environment friendly. That goes without saying. And in terms of other elements, what we do in the store, like I said, basic simple thing, my carry bags, we use paper bags as a brand to avoid any form of environmental damage. And I'm just thinking, what else do we do as a brand for sustainability? Uh, Majorly, this is what I would put forth to you right now.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I guess you're done with the questions. As we are nearing to the end of the section, I now invite Mr. Amalnathan, head of the department, for the concluding remarks for this section.
Ajay, good evening.
Very good evening, sir. Very nice to hear from you.
Yeah,
It's
very
almost
happy to
9 years
see
I
you.
get to hear from
Yeah,
you.
I joined very late. I came, also home late from college today. We
Okay.
had a few meetings, scheduled. So I was so, happy to hear you. The way, you're explaining things today, from your experience makes a difference. Even I wanted to ask a question before that, Reggie asked me to, give a concluding remark.
No, no, I would
Uh,
love to hear you. I wouldn't
yeah,
mind. I would
all
love to
right,
hear
right,
you
yeah.
what questions you have.
Yes, yes. See, this modern generation, okay, where
Yes,
they feel like everything should come to them sitting at home. Okay,
correct. Correct.
how are you going to sustain your business model? When
Yes,
when this generation is changing their way of doing marketing or purchasing. Do
correct.
you think that it is still when you say that you are still not fully matured?
Yes,
As he was, she was also asking, is it not too late now?
yes.
Will you not miss out, that opportunity of exploring this?
So I would beg to differ. I really wouldn't say that I'm missing out a bus right now because I'm seeing massive growth happening at my offline level right now. And as much as I would want to go online, there is massive growth which we are seeing in right now in our own existing store. Now, for example, just to put forth another light, by Diwali we are planning to launch another floor right above my existing store. So right now it's a 6,000 square feet store. By Diwali we become another 2,500 square feet floor added because scaling up is very easy in an offline format of a store. So, as much as online is important, scaling up has been very easy for us in offline store setup because we are very used to this form of a business. And like I did mention earlier, end of the day, I would look at a return on investment. As a businessman, I look at purely of what is going to build in my business and growth journey and a faster note on the kind of investment I'm putting in. So adding another floor is easier for me by Diwali, which is more easy rather than getting into an online stage right now.
Okay, Jay. Thanks for that
Because
answer.
like I mentioned, sir, it's end of the day, there's a cost structure which is attributed towards it. It's about what's scalable easier for an entrepreneur and There becomes two sides. One, what the audience is wanting. Two, what is more scalable easily. So to me, this is more scalable easily. So I'll focus on this right now versus moving to online right now, because we're seeing good traction. We're seeing customers being online. We're seeing them come to our store. There are customers who visit us 25 times in a year. Even we think, why do you buy so many saris? So customer sticky rate has been very high. So I would say right now I would focus on this subject of the business.
Thank you, Ajay. So what I derive from your response is that this generation also will learn that it is not that everything is going to be only online, but there is still
Correct.
scope and space for offline transactions, and
True.
that has its own value. And generally, when people visit your store and experience the product and make a choice, and that is much more happier than making a choice online. So this trend will continue, I'm sure. So that sounds that's a kind of
And sari by itself is a product where a touch and feel is far more important than formal clothing, because there is varied types of fabrics which you get on saris. So right now in my product category list, which I see in my ERP, we have 2,500 plus categories of saris. So there's a different type of sari with the moment you hold and touch and feel, the feel of every sari is different, and which is why the categorization has been done as 2,500 plus categories.
Great, yeah. Ajay, the background of this, talk with our students is that, our students have to learn, from, the people's experience. Also, we have requested them to write, cases.
Okay.
So I'm sure some of them will approach you, for, some data. They will write, a case about your product and your business. That is to make us reflect in different contexts, how relevant, certain, strategic decisions that you make, is still holding good, and how would this business, progress, okay, hypothetically. All that would be the, outcome of those, cases that will be administered in classrooms.
Correct.
So I'm sure, you will be supporting your students in sharing the information, and that is also, instructed to them that it is also going to be kept confidential only for academic purposes.
Definitely. I'll be
Yeah,
more than happy to put in whatever which can help in their learning journey is what I would put forth.
right. Yeah. So happy to see you, Ajay. Now we will, love to have you on campus sooner, anytime.
Definitely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you so
you,
much.
students, for your participation. Yeah.
Thank you
Thank you,
so much.
sir. Thank you, sir, for your valuable suggestions. So, the real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. With this thought, let's end this fruitful section and now invite Mahima Susan Verghese to deliver the vote of thanks. Mahima, are you on the call?
I think she is not audible, but she has unmuted.
Can't mute, it says. You, Ajay, no, it's unmute. Okay, fine. Just come. Sure.
Am I audible?
Well, yes.
Okay. Sorry for the delay. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the entire class, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished speaker of the day, Mr. Ajay V. Jain, the founder of Sacred Threads. Thank you, sir, for sharing your invaluable insights and experiences with us. Your journey and vision have truly inspired us, and we deeply appreciate the time and effort you took to be with us today. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I would also like to express a sincere thanks to our head of department, Amalnathan sir, for his unwavering support and guidance. Your leadership and dedication has been instrumental in making events like these possible. Thank you, sir. A special thanks to our faculty in charge, Rishikesh sir, for organizing and coordinating today's session. Your meticulous planning and commitment ensured that everything ran smoothly, allowing us to gain the maximum benefit from this enlightening talk. Lastly, I would like to thank all my classmates for your active participation and enthusiasm. It's your engagement that makes these sessions truly meaningful. Once again, thank you all for being here and making this event a great success. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody, for all your time. And in fact, anything if you guys would like to reach out to me, I'm always accessible. I'm more than happy to help you all in whatever doubts, help, or whatever you would require as much as I can with my experience and learnings. Now, I'm actually very glad of the small question which Amalnathan sir had asked in Coach Teresia also asked me today about the element of me migrating to online. This is a subject which I really wanted to move into, but these are things of not what I wanted to do. What the business feels good, healthier is what we need to focus on. There are things which I would like to do, but there are things which is required for the business to do. So right now, what my business requires and which is more rewarding to me as a business is to focus on offline rather than migrating to a completely additional cost structure. So I'm so glad that this thought process could be shared out to all of you in a world where we are seeing so many online brands. So I think this is something which I did not really think of an insight which could be put forth, but I'm so glad that I myself am able to understand why we did not move into online, because my energies have been invested in the offline space so much that we are seeing great growth journey here, that we don't find it imperative to move online.
And I'm sure that our students will be able to help you in
Thank you.
finding some
Anything
ways.
what you guys would want as help, please feel free to reach out. I'm always here.
So once again, thank you so much, sir, for heartfelt gratitude. So for considering our request and connecting with us, and thank you all for your presence here today. And let's look forward to an enlightening and productive outcome for this section. Once again, thanking you all for your valuable time. I could say, Reggie, take leave. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ajay. Good night.